And hi, Anuba, and welcome to the summit. We're so glad to have you here to talk about GirlScript. Before we dive into that, could you tell us about what you do and how you got your start in the tech space?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Power to Fly team, for inviting me today to talk about tech in India. Regarding what I do or who I am. So I am running this nonprofit organization called GirlScript Foundation from last 5 years. I started very early when just I graduated in 2017, and I thought of running my own organization. So this is how I got into it. We run around 12 programs, right from slum children to working professionals, and impacting around 500,000 students so far. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you did this right after graduating. This was your first project you wanted to go for. It's awesome.
So yeah, actually, I was working with a lot of communities, but there were no community based out of India for Indian students. As you can see, a lot of diversity is here, and different languages, different culture, backgrounds, etc. So I wanted to, when I worked with other communities, I kind of felt that need to do my own organization and not just run a community, but like giving proper education on grassroots level. So that's why I started with it just after finishing engineering, because I saw a lot of people in engineering struggling regarding their career choices and what they want to do next. So, yeah.
Okay, so touching on that topic almost, what was it about your own experience that made you realize that something like GirlScript was needed in India?
Yeah. So if I talk about myself, both of my parents, like, they did not get a degree. Like, although my father like got a diploma in electrical engineering, but I lost him like very early in my first year itself of engineering. So I had a single mother to take care of us. She was a housewife for last 18 years. So basically, I had no guideline on my own career, what to do. How to reach places, get connections, networks. Even when I started GirlScript, like, I was not aware how to set up a company, or even if we can set up a company of our own. Fortunately, I was running a workshop on Python called Django Girls. Django Girls is a big community. I was running Django Girls Nagpur back then, in 2016. So there I met a lawyer. She was one of the students. She wanted to build a website for herself, and that's how I met her. And she told me that, okay, you can set up an organization like this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So this is how I started. The main reason was lack of mentorship, lack of women in tech, especially the and when I went to several events like placements in final year. So there was one particular placement I remember of HSBC. We were 4,000 women participants there, and they kind of asked, like, HSBC every year sponsors Grace Hopper India celebration. So who knows about it? I was the only one in Nagpur, like, who knew about it. So these were like very, very small examples. And then I also heard a bunch of girls like talking about, okay, next round is technical, we won't get selected anyway, so let's try for another company. So these are like very small incidences that I observed in smaller cities in my surrounding, even with myself when I had no mentor or guidance, and rest like my friends were studying at some premier cities or colleges. So I felt kind of gap, and I thought, why not do an organization out of it and maybe help other people so that they don't suffer like this. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your own personal challenges. It's quite something to lose a parent, especially when you're that young at all. And of course, especially when you're that young. And as you said, without guidance, you've uh, started this all on your own and with speaking with, let's say, your mentors would be your friends.
Yeah.
And it makes me grateful that we have a mentorship program at Butterfly, and maybe activities and organizations like what you're doing gives that opportunity to other people as well.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned the lack of diversity, which, or rather, India's extreme diversity has also resulted in a certain lack of diversity, where if it's tech, like you said, the women would say, sorry, this is not for us. We'll just
Yeah.
try somewhere else. And in part, that's because of how companies should probably approach the their diversity targets differently,
Yeah.
not as a
Actually,
checkbox, but as a goal.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
go
I
ahead.
mean,
Yeah.
um, by doing more of that, I think we are more isolating the women kind of, or people from underrepresented groups. And then by mentioning diversity a lot of times, to be honest. I also guess it is also about the upbringing and the mindset, because if I see mindset of engineering, like men who are part of like engineering programs, and then women, so they are always told that, you cannot do data structures and algorithm, or maybe, you cannot crack this code, or yeah. So I have met a lot of women. So I'm really proud to tell this story that there is one girl, Janvi. So she got admitted into 5 universities in US for MS just a month ago, and I wrote recommendations for us. She is going to Cornell for engineering management and Ivy League. But when I met her 2 years back, she had everything, all the resources. She was rich, everything was there. But then the thing is that she lacked so much of confidence. And when I spoke with her, she actually cried on the first mentorship call, one-on-one call that I did with her. And then in last 2 years, I have seen such a transformation. Right now, I think she has more than 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. She is creating content, getting into Ivy League and all of that. So I think we more need mentorship when we are approaching to women, and maybe more role models so that they can relate and think that, okay, this is easy, like doable at least, and I can give a try. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. The mentorship is also from a role model. It's one thing to get advice from somebody who has a different experience that might be easier versus somebody who's shared that experience and knows. But congratulations to Janvi if you're listening, for having 5 acceptances and getting into Cornell. So can you tell us about the different components of GirlScript's mission?
Yeah, sure. So our very first component is customization, because as I told you, Janvi's like story or any other story that we see every day, we feel that education companies or e-learning companies are sorry about that e-learning companies are mainly talking or sharing those resources which they want to sell to the customers. And being a non-profit and revolutionizing this education domain, we feel that students should tell us what they need help with, and then we customize programs for them, not the vice versa. So this is the biggest like pillar, which is customization and understanding each one's story, and then suggesting them programs. The second thing is also focusing on different aspects, like for example, Tech in Slums is very unique program that we run at GirlScript. So this program, ironically, is we are running behind this Delhi Technical University. So you can see a big engineering college, and then you see slums beside that, where they don't have any access to mobile phones, internet, laptop, or they can never think that they can get a technical job. And there we have set up centers. Our volunteers go to slums and teach the students about tech. And after a year, when I visited the center in Delhi, they were talking JavaScript and Node.js and backend and front end, and I was so happy, to see that transformation. So, GirlScript in component first is obviously customizing the education. The second is how many people we are impacting, and how, like, what column of the society they belong to. Third is obviously, because we named it GirlScript, we reserve 50% of the seats for women, but we also, men are equally participant in that. So we wanted to shatter the myth that, okay, if an organization has a feminine name, it cannot have male participants. So earlier, when male participants were there, they used to get bullied a lot in beginning year. You work for GirlScript, and they used to laugh. So that also is very, that shows like what mindset we come from the earliest, that okay, the name is GirlScript, only women. So that. So we wanted to work on that as well simultaneously. And then obviously, the fourth part is to get opportunities for these people, like employment, etc. So last year we ran a women in tech hiring with Atlassian, where 15,000 women participated, and it was the first time in India when a tier 3 city student is competing at IIT level, and they both are writing the same test to get into a job. So this is
Fantastic.
the
Yeah.
work like we want to do and we have been doing. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is fantastic to hear. And also that's breaking barriers. You point a very important distinction where at one end there's an expectation about women in tech, and then there's
Yeah.
another about if men are in a group that is apparently for women. There's a barrier on both sides that you would
Yeah.
need to deal with. It's amazing the challenges that you've overcome. So after 4 years of operating, how has GirlScript made an impact on students through its grassroots efforts?
Yeah, so as I already mentioned about slum children, so we are doing that. We were also first community to reach. So I remember in 2018, one of our community members gave an interview in Jammu's radio channel, because we were the first tech community to reach Jammu and Kashmir. And we also saw phases when we used to host an event and internet used to shut down, and then the student need to go to internet cafe to download the links or the material that we provide. So that we have seen, we were the first one to reach Bihar and very remote villages in India, where there were no tech communities or people did not know how to make a career. Basically, with the competitive exams right after the high school, people start preparing for prestigious colleges, but we forget that those colleges just have very limited number of seats comparing to the Indian population. And then all of these people kind of see themselves as maybe lower than those who are studying in premier institutes and premier colleges. So yeah, that is the main difference. That is the main point we wanted to establish with GirlScript, that no matter which college, which campus, which community you come from, you can actually get equivalent to somebody who is studying at a maybe at a IIT or IIM. So with the programs that we run at GirlScript, for example, GirlScript Summer of Code. So now Google also has Summer of Code programs. Then we have Outreachy. Then we have different Trail Girls Summer of Code, other programs. But the thing is that all of these programs needs you to understand open source, GitHub in priority. But with GirlScript Summer of Code, what we wanted to do is anybody who has never heard of GitHub, never heard of open source, they should be able to participate and contribute. And after contributing to the program, they should be able to get hired maybe by an open source company or by any tech company out there. And we actually saw that in very first year of GirlScript Summer of Code in 2018, we had 50 top 50 participants interview for Red Hat. And I think Soumya, she was one of the top, like I think she's speaker right now in Power to Fly Like Summit, and she was one of the person who used to handle Tech in Slums program at GirlScript from last 2 years. And due to her work, like she could not continue this year, and she was the winner in GirlScript Summer of Code very first edition, and she got into Red Hat as well. So yeah, you can see a lot of like examples and stories, and if I talk about that, we can go on and on. But this is the impact we wanted to create, although it sounded like we are just copying other programs which are already existing out there, but our motto was very different, and we got kind of bullied for it initially, that you are just copying any program. But I mean, later on it changed everybody's perspective.
Wow, yeah. Again, more challenges. So along the lines of some of these success stories, Anuva, could you tell us about some of the most gratifying moments in your journey that have indicated that you were on the right path?
Yeah. So yeah, initially, I mean, obviously, I had to face a lot of problems, like because nobody in my family is kind of entrepreneur, or they have their business, or I mean, nobody knows like initially that what I am doing, why I'm doing it, and why I'm even running a non-profit. Like, I mean, they would understand a business where I'm making a lot of money, but why I'm running a non-profit, that too in India, and I'm not making like any money, and why I'm helping people. So that was like first barrier from the family. Then second, like because the name was GirlScript, as I said, people did not like it. Some of the people kind of pointed that out. Then obviously when I got into Forbes Asia under 30 list, I think it's 2020. 2020. I don't know, there was a lot of backlash from general community people, or maybe some people who I might not have collaborated with at GirlScript, because when you run an organization, you have to take very wise decision who to collaborate with, who did not, or something like that. So maybe those people were angry, or I don't know. So, or maybe people were angry that coming from a tier 3 city. So I am resident of Chinwada, MP, which is like a very small city in India. My mom still like lives there. So people were kind of not happy with that. So there were a lot of articles written, a lot of bullying happened in that, like when I got into Forbes and all of that. So I think last year, with COVID and everything, I took a year break when my other team members were working to kind of work on my mental health and be sane about that. Okay, I'm doing something great, and I did not need to stop, but go far from here. So yeah, there were a lot of things, personal challenges, professional challenges, but yeah, I mean, it's all worth it, I guess, when I look at the stories.
Yeah, and it's glad that you talked about mental health, because it's also important to take care of yourself so that you are then more capable and ready and have the energy to then help all the people who you're helping right now and have helped in the past. So, what was the initial phase like in your journey? Like, how did you convince students to enroll with GirlScript and learn from there?
Um, so initially, because I was already running a lot of programs, like I was a active contributor in Mozilla India community from early days, like from college days. So I kind of learned a lot of things about community, privacy, tech, all of it. I think the essence came from Mozilla, because that was like a brilliant community, and it helped me a lot to connect with. So I was really shy to speak, or I could not talk like this, like online, turning on my video, etc. So because the team was so widespread for Mozilla community around 48 countries, I could get that confidence and talk to different people, and also determine like what is missing in Indian ecosystem, which maybe I can help with. So that was all of it, I think, initially. And I had a lot of network as well, because I was running Django Girls, Mozilla, or Lean In, or different other chapters. I was always doing something, to be honest, because after first year, when my father passed away, I knew that I am the older one and I have to do something. Like, and I was not studying at a premier college. I was in a college where in Nagpur, where like nobody knew, even in Nagpur, like nobody recognized the college. So I knew that, I need to like pound so hard that I can come out of the box, and I'm not stuck anymore with a very minimum, bare minimum. I never wanted to do that. Plus, I had to support my family as well. So I kept on, hitting. And I mean, I remember between second, third year, like I worked with almost 50 to 60 companies, like right from writing blogs for 50 rupees, and then taking interviews or whatever I could find. Whatever, I just did all of it, to finally find like what I enjoy. So this is how it started. And initially, to get the students, because I had previous networks and connect with the college students, because I was already running programs, so that was there. And I also had other friends in Mozilla or different other communities who asked me initially, okay, what is this, what are you posting about, etc. And I told that, okay, this is the initiative I started, would you like to be a part? These are the agenda why I started the organization. And they also felt kind of relevant and connected to it, because they were facing something similar. So I think that's what drove attention of people, and we kind of grew. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Mhm.
And earlier you mentioned how when you needed some time for yourself, the rest of your team was continuing with the work. So, how do you recruit volunteers, and what kind of skills are you looking at when you're looking to have people help you help others?
Yeah, so when we recruit volunteers, what we basically look for is how well they connect with the cause that we are working towards. Because mostly people join communities because they want t-shirts or they want stickers, or they want to travel, or I mean, they are always looking for perks. And to be honest, GirlScript being like a very small organization, and we do not have any tech products to sell or any marketing to do, we cannot spend like a huge budget on all of these things. So we are totally focused towards our mission to teach people. So we always look for those who kind of are, not looking for, I'm not saying not looking for benefits, but not direct benefits from the organization. But once they contribute, they automatically get rewarded for it. Like any company in the world would hire them. Like recently, we did Web3 camp, which was focused on Web3, like a boot camp. And I had two interns like who were managing that. Both of them got hired by Web3 companies, and they were just first year students, and now they are on a very big payroll. So it totally is a, you get it, but then you have to be patient enough to. So this is the only process. Like we look for passionate people who want to work for a cause, and then grow their profile simultaneously with us, and we can then recommend to bigger companies or even our partners, and they can make a huge career out of it. Yeah.
Awesome. So glad to hear that. So as you can tell, your what you do is so important to many of the people who, almost everyone who's here at Butterfly with our goals. But in general, for our audience as well, how can they get involved in GirlScript's work, either as a student or a mentor or a sponsor?
Yeah, sure. So we keep on running events like back to back. We have yearly calendar, so you can keep on checking like our social media, and we post everything there itself. Like if you are already in our newsletter connected with us, then you will get all the info over email. And then apart from that, if you can just search on social media GirlScript Foundation, maybe on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you will find that we are recruiting volunteers, mentors continuously. And yeah, I'll paste the URLs as well. So yeah,
So
so
that's for the team, so then we can tell everyone. So it would be basically search for GirlScript, and this would be LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yeah.
All right. So how can we get started in open source with help from GirlScript? Like, how would we start a chapter?
Um, so yeah, so if you want to start a city chapter, you just have to like write an email, like drop an email that okay, I want to open a community here. It's very simple. We don't have any forms, etc. Because I mean we don't believe in that. So you can just email us. So my email is very simple, anubha@girlscript.tech. I'll drop it here. So you can just email, tell us that we want to start a community. We'll give you all the requisites that are required to start it, maybe whether it is mentor or maybe a space, or if you need any permissions, so the letters, etc., everything will be provided by us. So that is one thing. Especially talking about open source, if you want to get involved, so we run this program called GirlScript Summer of Code, and we are running it from last 5 years with very prominent partners. So you can search about it, or the website is also very simple, GOOC, that is GSOC, that .girlscript.tech. So you can just log in there and maybe see all the details. So I'll drop it and share it with the community. So yeah,
Wait, so
so
the
this is
main site is girls. Sorry, just to clarify that for our audience. So the main
yeah,
site would be girlscript.tech,
yeah,
and your ID would be anubha@girlscript.tech. That's spelled ANUBHA.
yeah,
And yes, the link you just have is
yeah.
gssoc.girlscript.tech. Excellent. I hope that our audience is now going to be able to know how to contact you, and that was absolutely brilliant. Before we close things out, is there anything else you'd like to add and share with us?
Yeah, so I'll just give a message which I talk about almost everywhere, which my father told me is that if you are a good performer, you don't need a stage. Wherever you perform, people will come and watch you. So just believe in yourself. If you are good at something, definitely you will get the results, not today, but tomorrow. So just follow that principle and go ahead.
Thank you. That is such good advice. Thank you for sharing that. And Anubha, it was so great to speak to you and have you speak at our summit in India and our first one, as you mentioned. Um, is just hi, Samaya, sorry. Would you like to take over for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anubha, for this wonderful conversation. And thank you so much, Anirudh, for moderating this talk.